Hello, welcome to Capital Sensei. Today, we're going to dive deep into a powerful personal finance story that is part memoir, part practical guide. We'll be dissecting Cait Flanders' book, The Year of Less. This isn't just about getting rid of clutter. It's a profound economic experiment one person conducted on her own life. We'll explore her journey of imposing a one-year shopping ban on herself, how she confronted and paid off nearly $30,000 in debt, and most importantly, how she completely rewired her relationship with money, consumerism, and happiness. Whenever we can, we try to answer questions in the comments section. This book brings up a lot of personal challenges and successes with money. So please, feel free to comment below with your own stories, your struggles with spending, or any questions you might have. Your experience helps everyone here learn and grow, creating a community that supports each other's financial journeys. Let's start by setting the stage. Who is Cait Flanders, and why did she decide to do something as drastic as banning herself from shopping for a full year? At the time, Cait was a young professional with a good, stable job. On the surface, things looked fine, but underneath, she was grappling with a reality that is incredibly common. Despite earning a decent income, she was drowning in debt. We're talking about nearly $30,000 of consumer debt, student loans, and a car loan. She found herself in a vicious cycle. She would work hard, earn money, and then spend it almost immediately on things she didn't truly need. A new book, a new piece of clothing, takeout food, another round of drinks. Each purchase provided a tiny, fleeting hit of happiness, but the underlying stress of her debt and financial insecurity never went away. It was a constant, low-grade hum of anxiety in the back of her mind. From an economic perspective, what Cait was experiencing is something called the hedonic treadmill or hedonic adaptation. It's a fascinating and slightly terrifying concept. The idea is that humans have a baseline level of happiness. When you buy something new, you get a temporary spike in that happiness. But very quickly, you adapt. That new thing becomes normal, and your happiness level returns to its baseline. The only way to get that spike again is to buy something else. It's a treadmill, because you're running and running, spending and spending, but you're not actually getting anywhere in terms of long-term contentment. Cait realized this. She looked at her apartment full of stuff, her credit card statements full of charges, and her bank account, which was perpetually hovering near empty, and she had a moment of clarity. She recognized that her spending wasn't a source of joy. It was a coping mechanism. She was using consumption to numb feelings of dissatisfaction, boredom, or stress. She was, in her own words, an alcoholic who had gotten sober, only to replace one addiction with another: mindless consumerism. This was the catalyst. She decided she had to do something radical to break the cycle. So she declared a personal shopping ban for one full year. Now, this wasn't about becoming a hermit and spending nothing. You can't do that in the modern world. The rules had to be practical. She created a very specific framework. She was allowed to buy essentials, groceries, toiletries, cleaning supplies, and gasoline for her car. She was also allowed to pay her bills, her rent, and make her debt payments. That's it. What was on the forbidden list? Pretty much everything else. No new clothes, no shoes, no accessories, no books or magazines. She would use her library card instead. No electronics, no home decor, no coffee shop lattes, no takeout meals unless she was out with friends for a social experience. The goal wasn't to eliminate joy. It was to eliminate the mindless, impulsive spending on things. This distinction is absolutely critical. Experiences with people were still on the table. Accumulating more stuff was not. Think of this from an economic standpoint. What she did was impose a personal austerity program. When a country is in too much debt, its government might be forced to implement austerity measures, slashing public spending to get its finances back in order. Cait applied this same logic to her personal microeconomy. She identified the discretionary spending that was bleeding her dry and cut it off at the source. It was a bold and disciplined move to regain control of her personal balance sheet. Before the ban even started, she did two very important things. First, she decluttered her entire home. She went through every single possession and got rid of anything she didn't use, need, or truly love. This process was more than just tidying up. It was a painful but necessary confrontation with her past spending habits. Every useless gadget or unworn shirt was a physical representation of wasted money. Money that could have gone toward her debt or her savings. She ended up getting rid of over half of her belongings. The second thing she did was create what she called an approved shopping list. This was a short list of items she knew she would need to replace during the year, like running shoes or a specific piece of clothing for a wedding. By writing them down in advance, she transformed them from potential impulse buys into planned, necessary purchases. This removes the emotional, in-the-moment decision-making that so often leads to regret. It's a brilliant strategy for anyone trying to control their spending. The first few months of the ban were, as you can imagine, incredibly difficult. Our modern world is practically designed to make you spend money. Advertisements are everywhere, from your social media feeds to billboards on your commute. Social situations often revolve around consumption, going out for drinks, going shopping with friends. Cait had to constantly navigate these triggers and find new ways to cope. She identified her biggest spending triggers: boredom, stress, and a desire for reward. Had a tough day at work? The old Cait would buy herself something nice. Feeling bored on a weekend? The old Cait would wander through a mall. The shopping ban forced her to find new, free, or low-cost ways to deal with these emotions. Instead of shopping, she went for walks, called a friend, worked on a creative project, or read a library book. She had to actively build new neural pathways, replacing the old habit of feel bad, buy something, with feel bad, do something productive or restorative. This is a powerful lesson in behavioral economics. We often think of ourselves as rational decision makers, but a huge portion of our financial behavior is driven by emotion and habit. By setting a hard and fast rule, like I am not buying anything non-essential, you take the decision-making process out of the equation. There's no room to negotiate with yourself. The answer is just no. This frees up an immense amount of mental energy that you would otherwise spend wrestling with temptation. As the months went by, something remarkable started to happen. The initial pain of restriction started to fade and was replaced by a sense of freedom. She was no longer constantly thinking about what to buy next. Her mind was clearer. She also started noticing just how much money was flowing back into her bank account. Without the constant drain of small, seemingly insignificant purchases, her savings rate skyrocketed. This is where the magic of focused financial effort comes into play. A $10 lunch here, a $50 sweater there, they don't seem like much in isolation. But when you eliminate all of them, the cumulative effect is staggering. Cait was able to take all that reclaimed money and throw it directly at her debt. She was making extra payments every single month, which had a massive impact. Let's talk about the math for a second, because it's so important. When you have debt, especially high-interest credit card debt, you're playing a game where compound interest is working against you. The interest charges are added to your balance, and then you pay interest on that new larger balance. It's a snowball of debt rolling downhill, getting bigger and bigger. By making large, extra payments, Cait was essentially stopping that snowball and starting to push it back uphill. Every extra dollar she paid went directly to the principal, reducing the base on which future interest was calculated. This is how she was able to pay off almost $30,000 in just 1 year. She turned her cash flow from a tool of consumption into a weapon for debt destruction. Beyond the financial success, her entire life perspective shifted. Instead of asking herself, "What can I buy?" she started asking, "What can I do?" Her weekends, once filled with trips to the mall, were now filled with hiking, visiting friends, exploring her city, and working on her blog. She was substituting material consumption with life experiences, and she found that the happiness she derived from these experiences was far more lasting and meaningful than anything she had ever bought in a store. This points to a fundamental economic principle, the law of diminishing marginal utility. The first coffee you have in the morning gives you a huge boost. The fifth coffee? Not so much. The same is true for material goods. The first new shirt you buy after wearing old ones for years feels amazing. The 20th shirt you cram into an already full closet provides almost no additional happiness. In fact, it might even create stress because now you have to store it and maintain it. Experiences, on the other hand, often have increasing marginal utility. The more you hike, the better you get at it, and the more you enjoy it. The more time you spend with loved ones, the stronger those bonds become. Cait also learned to get creative and resourceful. Need a dress for a fancy event? Instead of buying one, she borrowed one from a friend. Wanted to read a new best-selling book? She put her name on the wait list at the library. This mindset shift from "I must own this" to "How can I access this" is a game changer for personal finance. The rise of the sharing economy, from libraries to tool lending programs, makes this more possible than ever. It's about fulfilling the need without the necessity of ownership. One of the most profound parts of her journey was realizing how much of her identity had been tied up in what she owned and what she consumed. She, like many of us, had fallen into the trap of using brands and products to signal things about herself, that she was successful, that she was stylish, that she was in the know. The shopping ban stripped all of that away. She had to figure out who she was without the labels and the logos. She discovered her real values were not about having the latest phone or the trendiest clothes. They were about financial security, personal freedom, and meaningful relationships. So, the year ends. The ban is lifted. What happens next? This is the most interesting part. You might expect her to go on a wild revenge shopping spree to make up for lost time, but she didn't. The 12 months of the ban hadn't just changed her bank account, they had fundamentally rewired her brain. Her desire for more stuff had simply evaporated. The hedonic treadmill had been dismantled. She didn't become a complete ascetic who never bought anything again. That's not the point. The point is that she became a conscious consumer. After the ban, her purchasing process was completely different. Before buying any non-essential item, she would put it through a rigorous mental checklist. Questions like, why do I want this? Is it a genuine need or an emotional want? Can I borrow it or get it secondhand? Can I wait 30 days and see if I still want it then? Where will I store it? How will I dispose of it when I'm done with it? This framework is pure gold for anyone looking to control their spending. It introduces friction into the buying process. Impulse buys thrive on a lack of friction. One-click ordering is a perfect example. By forcing yourself to stop and think, you give your rational brain a chance to catch up with your emotional brain. More often than not, you'll realize you don't actually need or even want the item that badly. This journey has huge implications for anyone interested in investing and building wealth. Let's connect the dots. The single most powerful factor in determining how quickly you can build wealth is your savings rate. It's not your investment returns. It's not picking the perfect stock. It's the percentage of your income that you save and invest. A person earning $50,000 a year who saves 20% will build wealth far faster than a person earning $100,000 who only saves 5%. What Cait Flanders did with her shopping ban was an extreme but incredibly effective way to maximize her savings rate. By slashing her consumption to the bone, she was able to divert a massive portion of her income, first to debt repayment, and then, presumably, to investing. This is the core principle behind the FIRE movement: financial independence, retire early. Proponents of FIRE aim for savings rates of 50% or more, allowing them to build an investment portfolio that can support them long before traditional retirement age. Cait's story is a real-world case study in how this can be achieved. Let's also consider the concept of opportunity cost. This is one of the most fundamental ideas in economics, and Cait's story illustrates it perfectly. The opportunity cost of something is not just its price tag. It's the value of the next best alternative you gave up. When Cait was spending, say, $100 on a new pair of shoes she didn't need, the cost wasn't just $100. The opportunity cost was what that $100 could have become if it had been invested. Let's run a quick hypothetical example. If you take that $100 and invest it in a simple, low-cost index fund that averages a 7% annual return, in 10 years, that $100 would be worth nearly $200. In 30 years, it would be worth over $760. So the real cost of those shoes wasn't $100. It was $760 of your future financial freedom that you traded for a temporary fashion statement. When you start thinking in terms of opportunity cost, every frivolous purchase looks a lot more expensive. Cait's year of less was also a powerful hedge against lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation, or lifestyle creep, is the tendency to increase your spending as your income increases. You get a raise, so you get a nicer car. You get a promotion, so you get a bigger apartment. The problem is that your savings rate stays the same, or even decreases. You're making more money, but you're no closer to financial independence. You're just upgrading the hamster wheel. By living on a fraction of her income for a year, Cait effectively broke the link between earning more and spending more. She proved to herself that she could live a happy, fulfilling life on a very modest budget. This is an incredibly empowering realization. It means that any future raises or increases in income can go directly toward her financial goals: investing, saving for a down payment, or traveling, rather than being absorbed by a more expensive lifestyle. She escaped the golden handcuffs that trap so many high earners. Finally, let's think about the psychological shift required for her journey and how it relates to being a successful investor. Spending provides instant gratification. You swipe your card, you get the thing. You get the dopamine hit. It's immediate. Investing is the polar opposite. It is the art of delayed gratification. You put your money into an asset today, foregoing the pleasure of spending it, in the hope that it will be worth much more in the distant future. This requires patience, discipline, and a long-term perspective. Cait's shopping ban was like a year-long boot camp for her delayed gratification muscle. She trained herself day after day to say no to immediate pleasure for the sake of a greater long-term goal. becoming debt-free. This is the exact same mental muscle that investors need to cultivate. It's what allows you to keep buying stocks when the market is scary and everyone else is selling. It's what allows you to ignore the hot new trend and stick to your boring, effective, long-term strategy. Her story shows that this muscle can be developed through conscious practice. In summary, The Year of Less is so much more than a book about decluttering. It is a profound economic and psychological journey. It demonstrates that happiness and consumption are not nearly as correlated as advertisers would have us believe. It shows that by adopting a mindset of conscious, intentional spending, you can dramatically alter your financial trajectory. The principles are simple, but not easy. Understand your triggers, create friction in your buying process, prioritize experiences over things, and focus on maximizing the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Cait Flanders' experiment provides a powerful blueprint. It's an extreme example, and a year-long shopping ban might not be right for everyone. But the lessons are universal. By challenging the deeply ingrained assumption that more is always better, you can unlock a level of financial control and personal freedom that you might have never thought possible. You can take your money back from the marketers and the retailers and put it to work for your own future, building a life that is rich in a way that has nothing to do with the things you own.